Welcome back to Session 0, the storyline, the Heart of Albion, Part 5, The Sentinel Falls. We left our party being airlifted out of the Heart laboratory by the Princess Helena airship being flown for the last time by Old Man Jenkins, unfortunately intercepted by the Sentinel, the huge black, ominous, black-plated metal airship flown by pure Aether itself. Mullac, you are currently holding on to a rope ladder being airlifted out and up and over the city. As you look down, you can see the enforcers below you. Some of them start trying to fire bolts of Aether from crossbows at you. Some of the bolts whiz past you and miss you, and some of the bolts actually fizzle out mid-air. You realize that since you've pulled the dragon away from the Aether harvesting machine, the city is starting to lose power itself. Only things that have constant power, such as the Sentinel ship, are still activating. The city, you can see the lights going out. It's daytime, but it's starting to dull. You can see the blacksmith hammer in the distance starting to slow down. You can see the bakery starting, the steam rising from the chimney is slowly getting wispier and wispier until it goes to nothing. The city is stopping. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good that we've saved the dragon. Augustus, when he spoke to us, his words, they meant something. When he said, is the life of one dragon worth the lifestyle of everyone? I thought about it and then I was like, I hadn't thought about it before, but it's a bit late at that point. We have essentially just turned the whole city against us, but we've saved a dragon.
Yeah. Your moral compass is just constantly slowly spinning around.
I've got a magnet going round it.
Like, is one worth thousands? And normally most people would be like, yes, definitely, or no, not. You're just like,
questionable.
Yeah, maybe. There's a lot of factors to this we haven't considered.
Yeah, and I don't plan on considering them at this point.
Excellent. I like how Mullac works. And Angharage, hanging onto a rope ladder, being flown up and above and over the city, the Sentinel slowly starting to turn and chase the airship that you're in. How are you feeling?
I have never been in the sky before. This is so fun. I can feel like the wind on my fingertips. Ow, my fingertips. And it feels really good. It feels really fun. Don't have any kind of conception of height or death. So yeah, I feel like a little kid. It's really good. It's
You're
really
having a good
fun.
time. You're enjoying it.
Whee!
Excellent. You fly through the air, just gently spinning and enjoying the breeze. Yemmara, you are again holding onto one of the rope ladders. You're looking down. You're seeing some of the sorceresses and some of the enforcers trying to throw Aether up at you, and it's just dissipating into the breeze. It's not really doing much because beyond their suits, they weren't that skilled. How are you feeling?
I'm like gripping onto like one part of the ladder while I'm kind of looking at the dragon to see how the dragon is doing with this really weird air ride, because normally it's flying itself, not being drifted up. How does the dragon look?
The dragon is currently being contained inside a large rope net that itself is being hung from a thick twine of ropes onto the airship itself. The airship is not used to handling this amount of haulage or this amount of weight below it, so it's struggling to gain height. The airship itself, the Princess Helena, 2 large hot air balloons holding it suspended, and then a various selection of propellers and blades spinning around the outside, driving it forward, stabilizing it from side to side. It is basically a classic boat with all of these additions added onto it. When Helena built this with her father many, many years ago, they never anticipated it to be, hauling a dragon, but it's got the ability to do that. It's starting to creak a little bit, and the huge black burn mark along the side from the original Sentinel shot from 5 years ago is still there, and there's dust flaking off it slowly into the breeze. But the dragon is unable to break out of its bonds right now, but it knows that it's safe and it's being carried. So it's kind of huddled its wings around itself within this net as it's being flown along.
Okay, that makes me feel better that it's like got some protection and it's like protecting itself with its wings.
The airship is not moving very quickly, unfortunately, and you are all able to take the time to effectively climb up the rope ladders that you're on and pull yourself up onto the deck. Are you going to do that, or would you like to hang on the ladders still?
Yeah, I'm going straight up onto the deck.
Straight up onto the deck, you manage to climb up and flop yourself over onto the wooden deck of the airship, and it's safe up here as well. And Angharage, what are you doing?
You know I'm still flying.
You're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Hanging on from this as well. And Yemmara?
I will climb up, but before I do, I want to try and see from below, because I'm guessing the Sentinel is going to be at the same. Where is the Sentinel in terms of us?
The Sentinel is slightly higher in the sky than you are
Okay.
right now, kind of away from you, behind you, almost chasing you down. It's still spinning and changing its orientation to aim its main gun toward you.
So I can, because I've got this view of it, can I see where like the Aether is stored on the Sentinel?
The Sentinel itself has a huge battery inside it, effectively storing days' worth of flying power and days' worth of firepower. And every time it fires, it will drain its battery more, but it's definitely got more than enough power to take you down. You would need to be effectively inside this armor-plated blimp, if you will, to take it down. And as it begins to twist more and more and more, and the Aether gathers at the front for this huge big shot of magical energy, it's finally almost aimed at you. The Princess Helena itself has slowly started to spin around and begins to fly almost away and over the city. You almost hear Old Man Jenkins lean out from the captain's booth at the front and shout, "Hold on!" as he is attempting to spin it as fast as he can. And as he does, you look down. You can see below you the city. You can see the heart, the bunker, with the huge big hole burnt into it that the dragon created by the blast up from its mouth that you were effectively airlifted out from. And as you look down, you see emerging from this charred hole Augustus, stabbing his hands into the wall on the inside, crushing pipes and wires as he goes, pulling himself up with no real decorum or focus, just climbing by slamming into it. And when he finally gets up, he looks up and realizes that you are slightly too far away from him to jump to. But you are moving toward the edge of the city, which has the wall. And so you see him with the final energy in his suit begin to sprint away through the city, through buildings, jumping up and over he can. He's trying to get to the highest building, climb up, which may give him the leverage to jump onto the ship when you pass over it. As he sprints, you notice a familiar face. You notice Athena. Standing in the selection and the guards that are the enforcers that are all surrounding the central bunker, she looks up, realizes what Augustus is doing, and so, with a final focus, realizing her suit is losing an amount of energy as well, bends her knees and leaps up as high as she can. She leaps up until she is level with you. And then as she passes you, there's a little smile on her face. She's not bothered about taking you down. She's going to take all of you down. The leap is propelled by Aether from her hands, from her suit. She even pulls out some plugs and pushes a stream of Aether, almost propelling herself up higher and higher and higher, beyond the deck of the ship, beyond the blades itself, until she falls and lands and stands finally, and you see her land on top of one of the balloons that is holding the airship in the air. She's taking the entire thing down. Mullac, what are you doing?
Well, I see Augustus running at us, and I start panic throwing like dead weight overboard, like barrels, crates, just bits of old metal and tat, and I'm just wanging
Roll a
them.
d20.
Wanging.
17.
Nice wanging.
Yeah, some of it's metal and tap, some of it's just rope, but then you pick up something and you're like, this isn't metal and tap. This is something Helena made. You don't know what it does, but it's got a trigger.
Oh.
It's got what looks like an aiming receptacle. Might work.
Yeah. I just aim it up and try and pop her out the sky with whatever this is.
As Athena flies past you, you are just throwing things down, attempting to hit Augustus. Unfortunately, he's too far away right now, climbing up the side of some of the buildings in the actual city, getting ready to find a jumping vantage point. But as you find what might just be some kind of weird crossbow, you aim and pull the trigger. It shakes, it charges, it almost gets ready to blow up, and you realize that it's about to explode itself and not fire a projectile. What do you do?
I just toss it straight up at her.
Roll a d20 for your accuracy.
4.
You just kind of lob it off the side, and instead of lobbing it up to her, it just kind of pops and blows up into the air. Not every invention Helena made works, but you can definitely tell what is an invention and what is just random junk. And if you combine a couple of these things together, you may be able to work something out yourself, because as you see it blow up, you realize, oh yeah, I see, that wasn't connected to that pipe wasn't put into there, that wire wasn't just there. I get why that broke. And then you see a couple of other things and you start to realize how they could be combined together. And Angharage, while Mullac is attempting to pick up random bits of junk that turn out to be grenades and throwing them off, what are you doing? You're still holding on to it, and you've seen Athena fly up next to you and land on the balloon, and you can see Augustus down on the floor running and sprinting and trying to get to you. You almost see one of the anti-air guns turn and start to charge up to fire at you, but it does not have anywhere near enough Aether to actually create a projectile. Without the Aether heart, Albion is shutting down.
Okay. Well, I see the flying lady above, and I'm like, well, that's an issue. So
Fantastic assessment of the situation.
thank you. I tried very hard. So I'm gonna grab my rope and just kind of like start creating some momentum to kind of start swinging. And I'd like to create as much momentum as I can to do like a full loop. And as the rope hits a certain point, I want to let go and do it like a backflip and land on Athena.
You are not going to be able to generate the momentum yourself, but Jenkins is flying the ship and will be able to give you some assistance. So as he's flying, what are you going to shout to him to let him know about your plan?
Swing me!
He looks out to the side and kind of thinks, well, I mean, this was going to be the final flight anyway. I haven't really got a landing plan, but everyone seems here. So, okay, you begin to create some momentum when you're up. Roll a d20.
I feel sorry for the dragon right now. I'm probably thinking,
The dragon is just flying to the left and to the right side.
Sick.
yeah, throws up a little bit.
Quick, find any advantage you have.
Well, actually, it could be a saving throw if it goes very wrong, in which case it's advantage.
Thankfully, you aren't taking this role by yourself. Old Man Jenkins gets to help you, and he knows what he's doing.
Oh.
You begin to swing on this rope. You've noticed that Athena flies up the top, and so you begin to swing, and as you do, Old Man Jenkins rips the wheel to one side. The whole airship lurches. Well, like you nearly fall off the edge. All of the junk slides across the deck towards you. While you are still attempting to hold on to this, you effectively, again, thrown around, but you're okay. You understand what's going on with this. And the fling throws the rope around, and you're able to let go at the right time. The flip is not graceful, but you do land on the other balloon. The airship itself is held aloft by two huge spherical balloons of air above it and all of the blades off to the side. Athena has landed on one, and you have landed on the other. Mm-hmm. You are facing each other. You're probably about 20 meters apart from each other. Mm-hmm. And she simply looks over to you, and she holds her hand out to cast some kind of magic, and her suit is not enhancing what she can do.
Yeah.
Which means that she's nowhere near as powerful as she was, and starts to realize that, and you can see panic set into her face. While that's happening, Yemmara, what are you doing?
Okay, so after you've done your little backflip and I'm finally a little bit more secure in the ladder that's now not waving around, I want to Misty Step straight up if I can.
Perfect.
Straight up, literally, I want to go behind her again because I quite like being sneaky this time.
So you're going to go up onto the top of the balloon as well?
Yes, behind Athena.
Behind Athena. Roll a d20.
11.
11. The Misty Step is not perfect. You suddenly blink, and you are no longer holding onto the ladder. You are now standing on the hot air balloon at the top. You are, unfortunately, a couple of steps behind Athena. You would need to kind of run up to get to her. She, however, right now is focused entirely on Angharage, just staring at her from the other balloon. You've Misty Stepped up. What else are you doing?
Okay, so because I've got my staff on me as well, so I'm really good at carrying that along with the while I'm going up the ladder one-handed.
Trained.
Everyone knows that. Yeah. I'm just gonna basically, I'm gonna use it a bit like you would because I see you use your hammer all the time. But I'm gonna kind of imagine my staff has a hammerhead on it and use it as a mind thrust on the end of my staff and just bonk her on the head with it to get her to.
She realizes that you are there. She can sense the magical aether, but realizing that this suit is no longer any use to her, she quickly flicks a couple of dials and a couple of buttons and steps forward out of it. The suit itself simply begins to fall forward and kind of clank into place. She steps forward, turns and faces you. She sees you raise the stick above your head, and before she can get, a staff, that's cute. Halfway through the word cute, what are you doing?
Just, following through.
Just smacking on the head.
Don't call me
Roll a
cute.
D20.
9.
Oh, that's cute. As soon as it's cute, just slap straight across the face. She wasn't ready. She couldn't sense it. She wasn't aware that there's magical aether energy that she can't stop anymore without the enhancements of her suit, but she is still a sorceress herself, and so she begins to get incredibly annoyed and angry, and you can see that her hands begin to glow white with energy around her as she pulls what aether she can from the air, standing on the top of this hot air balloon facing you. Two sorceresses drawing what magic they can, one of which relied so heavily on her suit, she is trying to catch up with you now without any of the enhancements.
Oh, so cute.
While this magical jewel is going on, Mullac, what are you doing?
So I'm rummaging through all the tat that I'm now covered in a pile in the corner. What sort of tat is there that...
Well, when the airship swung to the side, you were effectively knocked almost off your feet and then just buried in a wave of junk.
I'm just digging out a pile of
pop
junk.
your head out of it and you just look around. There's wires, there's metal bits, there's what looks like a broken crossbow, there's the hilt of a sword, there's your the broken part of your rapier kind of fell off the bit of it, so you still got a handle around there. There's just a random assortment of junk. And as you are looking around to see what's going on, you hear some slamming steps on the floor because the ship itself is beginning to lose a little bit of height, and the sentinel is still charging up a blast attack ready to take you out. And as this is happening, you hear steps. You're closer to the floor than you thought you were. You're close to a couple of buildings, and as you look, you see Augustus sprinting up the side of a building and using the final power from his suit, pushing off, jumping through the air, and slamming down onto the deck, looking around at all of you. And he simply sees you in this pile of kind of junk and your head just kind of popping out of it, looking around. And he shouts over at you, "One job! You just had one job! Don't go into the heart. And now look at what you've done."
In response, I just stare at him smirking while I take the broken crossbow and wires to like restring it, load it up, and just put the end of my broken rapier in it.
So just the handle, because the tip snapped off in the Enforced You fought earlier. So it's just underneath this junk pile. So he can just see your head staring at him. But your hands are working quickly under the pile, finding a broken bit of a crossbow, finding a bit of a wire, stringing it together, pulling it back and loading in your own broken rapier handle.
Yeah. Then I just lift up, smirk, pull the trigger.
Roll the
right
D20.
at Augustus. 5.
All you had to do was leave alone. Bang. He looks down. Normally the suit would tell him when something's coming in. It would enhance his feelings. And right now he looks down and he sees the handle of a rapier just stuck in his shoulder. Out the back of his shoulder, the broken tip of a rapier, where it originally snapped off from earlier, just in there. He tries to move his arm, and unfortunately, he can't disengage from the suit because you've effectively pinned him into this metal mech suit now, and it's losing power itself. He used what he could to jump. He realizes that he can't move his arm and he can't move away from the suit, and it's now taking strength of his own to effectively fight back against the mechanical suit not moving the way he wanted it to. And he begins to look scared for the first time. And Harag, what are you doing? You're watching Yemmara and Athena have this magical jewel on top of the hot air balloon. You're on the other one.
Do I notice Augustus like getting onto the ship?
Yes, you don't notice him being shot afterwards, but you do notice the jump from below.
Awesome. Well, I trust Yemmara's capabilities, so I'm gonna let her have it out with Athena because magic isn't my thing, and I'd like to jump off from the balloon onto the deck, but try and sort of see where Augustus is. And I want to run, jump, and like deja vu, land on his shoulders again to like pin him to the deck.
Roll a d20.
20.
You manage to run down the side of the hot air balloon. As you slide on the end, you almost have your hand on it, kind of, it's wrapped in rope and twine as well. So as you do, you're using it to stabilize yourself. And when you land on the deck, you land, you look up, and then this broken handle of a rapier just flies past in front of your eyes. And you follow it, and it just slams into Augustus's shoulder, pinning him into his suit. You then look over the side and just see Mullac's head just kind of from a pile of junk, just kind of looking around like a meerkat, wondering what he's got done. He's happy with this. The shot was a good shot.
Yeah, very
crossbow
good.
was quite powerful. So, following the crossbow handle, you run, leap, and Augustus has no time at all to respond to you. You're able to place, is it your shins or your feet onto his shoulders?
I'm gonna basically just run at him with my hands and just kind of like, I wanna push him, but at the same time, get my right leg and put it behind his heel so that as I push him, I'm literally tripping him up and like pushing him down.
Because you rolled a 20, you notice one other thing that may be of use. The sentinel has now fully turned to face you, and the blast of aether energy it was going to throw at the Princess Helena airship has now started to congeal in front of the ship itself, building up into a ball of solid liquid aether before it gets thrown into a beam at you. This ball of aether is outside of the sentinel, and you notice that it is starting to pulsate with the maximum amount of power it could possibly have, and it is the sentinel, Augustus, you.
Okay.
Knowing that, what do you do?
All right. Then I change what I do, and I'm going to run at him. I stick my hands into, because I remember that he had like his body was like that, and he had 2 pipes here.
Yep.
So I want to grab the pipes and you like move him towards between us and the blast, and I will look him dead in the eye, and I say, Hi! As I shield myself using him to receive the blast.
The blast is going to be incredibly powerful when it goes onto the ship. Shielding one person with one thing will be difficult.
Can I not just... okay, how big is the blast?
The ball itself is powerful. It's already burned a huge section of the ship when it fired 5 years ago. Is there a thing that you can do with this blast to maybe disrupt it before it happens?
I could throw him at the blast.
Have him meet it halfway, yeah.
Okay.
See what happens.
All right. In that case, I grab him and I'm like, hi!
Bye!
His incredible strength doesn't beat a sweat, and I just throw him as far as I can.
As soon as you grab the bars, he raises his other hand up to grab you and tries to pull your hand off the bar and realizes that without the enhancement of the suit, he cannot overpower you. And with his other arm effectively pinned in by the rapier handle, he raises his hand up and grabs you and pulls off again. As he looks at you, he's terrified because without all of the magical enhancements, his muscles are nowhere near yours.
Before I throw him, can I say one last thing?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm like, hi, and then I told you weren't stronger than me.
You lift him back and yeet him through the air.
Yeah.
He spins. Yemmara, you effectively look over and just see this suit spinning through the air, cartwheeling through the air toward the sentinel. And the last spin, you just about see his face as he stares at you in disbelief as he disappears into this bubble of aether that's been charged up on the front of the sentinel for a blast. The bubble begins to contort, it begins to shake violently, and then before forming into a blast, it just explodes into color, into showers, into liquid, melting the front part of the sentinel itself, showering the city below with little tiny drops of molten aether, absolutely obliterating anything that touches it. Augustus is atoms. He is just blown into absolute nothingness. And then the magic that splatters onto you quickly dissipates away because without a constant energy source, it doesn't do too much. But you know that Augustus many years ago covered Timothy in aether as punishment, and you have responded by throwing him into a pure bubble of it and destroying every atom that made him up. He's not even history anymore. He is just gone from existence entirely. The sentinel, however, has not stopped, and the front part of it is dripping and melting with aether, but it is still barreling towards you. And even though it itself may not be able to charge up its gun, it can easily crash into the ship. While this is happening, Yemmara, you have just looked behind you and seen this huge explosion of ethereal energy and the sentinel's nose cone effectively being melted off it. Athena's even looked over and is shocked and quite scared herself, but is trying and realizing there's a huge abundance of aether in the air now, almost pulling all the energy toward her. What are you doing?
Seeing what she's doing, I'm like, well, she can play at that game. So I start pulling the aether that's kind of around us and also like within her suit as well to charge up a like a more of a intense sort of bolt of fire rather than a fireball.
You pull the magic energy towards you. Roll a d20, please.
19.
You pull the energy towards you, and Athena is doing the same, sapping what blue tendrils of wispy smoke and energy and liquid out the air you can. And eventually, Athena congeals it into a ball of pure energy and flings it at you. Noticing it, you simply step back, manipulate it around you, add it to yours, and then throw it back at her. And she realizes the same thing, and so steps back and struggles to hold this one and throw it back. Every time this magical bolt of energy is thrown between you two, it is gaining more and more and more and more, pulling energy from the air. For you, it's easy. You've done this your whole life, and it's simply about the small movements that you've been taught. Athena, without the enhancements of her suit, is struggling every single time she tries to pull it back. And eventually, you can tell she's pretty much reached her limit and pulled all that she possibly can and then thrown it back toward you. And with a final massive ball of bubbling aether flying through the air towards you, what do you do with this huge amount of magical energy?
As this all comes towards me, I'm actually going to like let it fully go around my hands. And as it extends out, I'm going to kind of make it look like a sword and just drive it through her.
Oh. You pull it into you and it flows over your hand, and amazingly, it doesn't burn you. Because as it flows over you, your skin seems to grow red scales from somewhere. as it flows over this red, scaly armor, congealing into a huge bolt, into a small ball, and then expanding, and then again, and it flows over all of you. Your fingers almost claw-like at this point, and when you finally thrust your hand toward it, the aether just forms a blade and flies out. Straight, the handle remains in your hand, and before she can stop, it just goes straight through her. When she looks down, it's cut through the metal, it's cut through the wires, it's cut through the suit behind, it's cut through everything she's wearing, and you're simply holding it out in front of you. This blue glow over your hand still, almost cold to your touch from the scaled hand protecting you from it. And you're holding this solid blade of ethereal energy in her. What do you do?
You should have stayed in school.
Describe the attack that you would do with the blade now it's through her. Do you simply pull it back out, or are you going to do something more complicated?
Now it's through her. I'm going to rip it upwards.
Up. It cuts like butter and goes straight through, not the front of her face, but just to the side, slicing off her cheeks, slicing off just through one half of her eye, slicing off the top of her head as she almost falls. Because it's stabbed through her stomach, it does not a perfect in half, but the upper half of her body just flops from one side. And you can see the stomach, you can see the guts. It's cauterized because the lovely heat of the blade itself melted everything. But because she's still connected at the hip, she kind of stumbles around and then just falls off the side of the balloon itself, tumbling down to the city below, remarkably dead.
Nice.
Good job.
A little bit dead.
Augustus has been thrown into the congealed firepower of the sentinel.
Yep, we just have the sentinel left now.
Yeah.
Athena has been defeated by natural manipulation of magic over relying on it, but unfortunately, falling down upon you is still the huge black sentinel machine. Mullac,
Problem.
you've got to stop it somehow, and unfortunately, you don't think firepower from this ship is going to cut it.
No. How close is it?
The front of the sentinel has been blown open by the yeeted Augustus, exploding it, revealing almost an interior
Deleted.
passages. Wires, gears, pulleys, open spaces. You could almost get inside from the front if you need to, and it's probably about 30 meters away from you now. It's remarkably close to the ship itself. And even though Old Man Jenkins is trying as hard as he can to fight and keep this thing steady, the weight of the dragon swinging below underneath it is making it difficult. A couple of the enforcers have started just throwing things at you from the floor, seeing as none of their suits are working anymore. There's just rocks and sticks. One of them's tried to work out how a bow works, but can't quite work it out. Even the blacksmith is just throwing hatchets up at you, but he's not anywhere near as strong as he used to be because he's not been smithing anything. You've got to stop the sentinel from crashing into you. How do you do it?
Do you want to go in?
I do.
Tea time?
Chuck me.
Describe the throw.
Where do you want to go?
I want to go through the hole in front.
Okay.
Just straight in.
All right. I pick him up by his waist. Feels very light, man. Nice.
Yeah, I'm nimble.
And then, like a shot put, just reeling back, and then just send him.
I just curl up in midair.
Throw is perfect. You curl, you fly through the air, and the next thing you know, you're landed on your feet. You look up. So what you've seen, Yemmara, is you've looked down and you've actually seen the Mullac tumbling through the air
Is that-
into the front nose part of the Sentinel airship itself, where the explosion ripped the outer shell off. When you stand up and open your eyes, this was originally built to have a crew, but has since been automated. There's aether pumping around still. There's a huge battery in this, and there's a walkway. There's gears, there's levers, there's pulleys. But you notice a lot of similarities to the lab you're in, and you're very quickly able to work out exactly what goes to where and exactly what might power what. But you're not in the control room right now. What are you doing?
I want to head to the control room.
You sprint down the only corridor there is, your feet pounding on the metal grill below you, and eventually you manage to burst through a black metal swing door into a very small condensed control room. It's remarkably similar to the place you were in earlier. You look around quickly and you're able to very, very quickly identify red buttons, do not press.
I'm going to press every single red button.
Roll the d20.
15.
You press every button remarkably quickly, and as you do, the ship starts to slow down. It starts to lurch, and then, from staying still, it begins to twist sideways and drop. And as it's dropping, you've got to get out. What do you do?
I'm running straight back the way I came. And like when I get to the entrance, I'm just gonna be like, Yemmara, do something quick.
Yemmara, do something quick.
Oh, tea time? You did tea time? You could have warned me you were doing tea time. Can I cast fly on Callum? Mullac
Mullac.
fly. Mullac fly.
You want to see if you can make someone fly.
And glide, not die.
Just not die would help, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, glide him. I'll catch him. If he misses.
I believe you can fly.
Roll a d20.
That's
Right, technically,
What is that?
you rolled that and it landed on another dice.
What was it?
it might have been a 1.
Oh my god.
It's all right though. I got you back. Noticing that she's not powerful enough, I'd like to just climb down the same rope that I was on, just to drop down like that extra couple meters, just
So
in case
if
you don't
Mullac
make
does
it.
jump,
If I fall short.
Yeah.
you run.
Yeah.
You leap. Yemmara attempts to help you glide. The Aether is too chaotic in the air right now. The Sentinel still has some defenses left. And unfortunately, any magical energy that was focused towards you is pushed away. And you fall. You're pushing through the air, grabbing at anything you can. And as you fall down a little bit lower, you see Angharage holding on to one of the rope ladders, holding her hand out. Roll a d20.
Go on.
Come on.
14.
You grab the hand. You swing. And unfortunately, the rope ladder wasn't meant to hold two. So as you swing, you look up and you see the rope fray.
Oh, no.
As you are swinging, because the ladder is dragging itself along the wood of the ship, it is being frayed away. And finally, you both look at each other and it snaps. And you fall down toward the city. You look up and you see the airship slowly falling away from you. You look down. You see the enforcers. You see the city. You see the floor. You see a net ripped open and empty. And then you see a flash of silver. And suddenly you're moving forward. You've just about got time to grab in front of you.
I am grabbing it.
And you realize that you're riding a dragon.
Hell yeah.
It saw you falling, broke free of its bonds, and while it can't fly, it can glide. It was gliding around in a little pattern. It grabbed both of you. And Angharage, you're able to kind of let go and stand up. Mullac, you're at the front. And Angharage, you're sitting about a meter behind, atop the body of this dragon with the silver wings out to the side of you. Its head focused straight forward, and the airship flying away down the side. Yemmara, if you look over, you see this dragon blitz out to the side and then start to turn, fly back, and then eventually fly out of the city limits and land on the grass. Old Man Jenkins leans out. Where are we landing? I wasn't planning on it, honestly.
Okay, the dragon went this way. We're going to have to just crash land. I'll do what I can to help.
Gotcha. What about the sentinel?
Oh, I forgot about that.
He turns and looks. Behind, the sentinel is falling down toward the city. The enforcers are looking up and trying to run. And as they try and run, their suits are stopping them and starting to almost freeze up and seize up with no ethereal energy charging them. And so they quickly unclip from them and run themselves. The sentinel finally makes contact with a few buildings, smashing them apart. You see and hear the twist and horrible groans of metal as this massive metallic structure crashes into the floor. Flames begin to lick up from the side of it. Beautiful ethereal blue, green, some of them white, until eventually the whole thing is just a massive pile of rubble, mess, and twisted metal. The dragon has landed safely on the grasslands just outside of town. The forest that you arrived from earlier, still looking as inviting as it was, and Old Man Jenkins is able to slow down by pulling as many levers as he can, and the airship, not gently, but definitely touches down on the floor. You can hear the creak of wood and the snap and the splinter of a couple of probably quite important bits as it lands on the floor. The balloon's still inflating and holding it up. The whole ship itself, even though it's touching the floor, is still gently swaying because it's still buoyant enough. The blades start to slow down, and Mullac, you're able to finally, after being quite nervous, hop off the dragon.
That was awesome.
How are you feeling?
Fantastic. I've always wanted to ride a dragon.
I've always wanted to ride a good dragon too.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
It was. I'd like to pat the dragon on the head and just be like, thank you.
It's totally okay. It understands what you were trying to do, and it's accepting of this. It almost lowers its head down to accept the head pats.
Aww.
Yemmara, after the airship lands, you are still effectively standing on top. How do you get down?
I'm just gonna work my way down, do a little hop down and jump down to try and safely maybe land on a soft bush or
I catch
grass.
And Harrow's off to catch you.
I'll get you.
I'll just jump straight towards you. I'm so glad you're okay.
Because
I
you
thought I
are-
lost you.
Because you are focused, you're able to catch Yemmara perfectly in your hands.
I just squish your face.
Oh, I squish you too.
No, not that hard.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, forgot about that.
The city behind you is in absolute flames. Buildings are starting to fall left and right.
yeah.
All of the lights that were originally lighting the outer walls have slowly gone out. And anything you can see that was powered by Aether is beginning to slow down. The gears are starting to turn slower. The pistons have stopped. The smoke is no longer rising from the buildings, but is instead rising from the destruction and from the ashes that the sentinel crashing into it has achieved. And Old Man Jenkins steps out of the airship. Oh, guess they destroyed the junkyard after all.
And the rest.
Yeah, I feel a
Yes,
bit.
they have. Yeah.
So I have to ask, what happened to my daughter?
We don't actually really know. All we know is that she may have got out safely and she escaped with a baby silver dragon.
We think she's alive. We don't know where she's gone. I turn to the dragon and I ask, where would you go if you were escaping?
The dragon can't answer in words, but it thinks very quickly. It processes ideas very quickly. And it realizes that Old Man Jenkins has lost his daughter, but she's not dead. And it itself has lost its child, saved by the self-same Helena. And the dragon has an idea. The airship isn't going to fly without a power source. But Old Man Jenkins wants his daughter back, and the dragon wants its child back. And it knows that Old Man Jenkins doesn't like magic. Maybe he just doesn't like the way it's been used, or what it's taken from him. But it might like what it's able to return to him. So the dragon looks over at Jenkins, and I think Jenkins kind of understands. There's just enough room on the airship for a silver dragon, and there's just enough power to maybe fly around the world one more time and see if they can both find their lost children. Are you okay telling Jenkins this?
Yeah, I explain it all to him and I say as well, like, if we see anything, well, I don't know how we'll let you know, but we'll find a way.
And Harrog, any thoughts on this?
I think it's a very good idea. Best of luck to you. You'll find her. Just shout very loudly. Works for me.
Mullac,
I think this sounds like a fantastic idea. It works for both of them. Find both the kids. Happy ending.
Old Man Jenkins considers the proposal. Getting back into the airship, flying with the power of a silver dragon, providing just enough Aether. The ship wasn't built to run off Aether, but he can probably manipulate a couple of things. But before he goes, he's impressed with the amount of stuff that you were able to do with some of the junk that, well, Helena made. So he just gives you a large bag of it.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know what's in this. Some triggers, some balls of magic, some weird springs, contraptions, oddments and ends. You can probably make more of it than I can.
I'm sure I'll find some good use for it. Thank
It
you.
is a bag of components of various things. You aren't sure when they'll all come in useful, but they all will come in useful.
Can I have a look in your bag?
Yeah, take a look.
Oh, sick. I want to grab something that's in there.
Leave the spring, though. I want that.
You can have the spring. I want it.
Cogs, oddments, springs, bits of metal.
Ooh. I pull out a cog that fits my finger.
Do you want it?
Have you made a fidget spinner?
Yeah. Just spinning a cog around your
I
finger.
like it. It's mine.
Keeps her occupied. She can have
You're
it.
right. Yeah,
It's a
You can
small
keep
price
it.
to pay.
Look how fast it goes.
Roll a d20.
Friction burn.
12.
It goes quite fast.
Wow.
Yemmara.
I want to go over to the dragon and just start asking, do you know where red dragons, do you know any?
Again, no words, but pictures. The mountains to the north, over them. A land of ice. Beyond that, more fire. Beyond that, just dead trees. And then beyond that, a cave with a red glow. Possibly one of the last few remaining red dragons. While this silver dragon has never met the red dragon, they're aware of where they live.
Thank you.
And a strange land, a name, not quite sure. Des something. It'll come back to it.
Thank you. I'll head north. I hope you find your child.
The silver dragon boards the airship, and through a gentle puff of its breath is able to fill up the balloons above it to full strength very, very quickly. It's able to get the propellers spinning remarkably fast, and it's able to lift it off the ground much quicker than Jenkins would have expected. Still not entirely confident around this large silver dragon, but able to communicate by just understanding that they both wanted to live in a world that was nicer to them and simpler to them. The airship begins to chop through the air and slowly sail over the forest. You've been given a direction. North. Possibly the final resting place of a red dragon. You've been given a bag of oddments and ends. You aren't entirely sure what's in there, but every time you see something, you see a way that it could combine with something else to make something useful in the situation you're in. And you've got a fidget spinner. The city of Albion lies burning behind you. The sentinel, a huge clunk of creaking metal. Everyone in the city will rebuild, slowly, but at their own speed. A natural speed. A speed not enhanced by torture-gathered aether, and a speed that's not going to remove their own skills from them. The instrument shop owner will be very sad. He has to relearn how to play the instruments. The blacksmith will have to relearn how to blacksmith, and the baker will have to relearn how to bake. Maybe even the fighters will learn how to fight properly.
Yes.
Maybe the sorcerers will learn how to actually manipulate magic without help. The city of Albion is burning, but you've saved a silver dragon, and you've given an old man the chance to go and find his daughter, and you've got a direction for where to go next. Well done.
Good job, team.
Let's go north.
Yes.
North.
If only we had a dragon to fly on.
Oh, damn. No, you can just ask for
I
some
cast
horses.
Spirit of animals to speak to the horses.
Oh, God, right.
Roll a d20.
4.
A horse appears. It looks over at you. Are you the one the rabbit spoke of?
Oh. Actually, that was my mum.
The horse is incredulous. Also naive. And believes you. What can I do for you?
Well,